What is going on, everyone? Tim from Tierfon Orbital. So today's going to be a relatively quick demo video for the Green Mamba. This is the fabled, infamous Green Mamba from the Custom Saber Shop. So obviously, if you know anything about this run, you know it has been a long time coming. These are very, very special hilts. They are from the Custom Saber Shop, right? So if you don't already know, the Custom Saber Shop has been in the saber community forever, from the beginning. They offer a plethora of parts. I use the Custom Saber Shop almost on a daily basis. Most of my scratch builds still utilize parts from their MHS line of builds. They offer various components, so that they've been a part of the community forever, right? The Mamba is one of their hilts that they have machined in-house, and this is an absolute beautiful piece of machined aluminum. I don't know how many parts are in this hilt. I'm sure there is a list somewhere. There's probably a number somewhere. There is a lot going on in this hilt. I'm actually glad that these shipped assembled already, because there's a lot of parts. I mean, I can really appreciate the amount of machining that went into these hilts, right? So very, very beautiful hilts. So as you can probably tell, there's not a lot of room going on in this hilt. However, I was able to design a little bit of a custom Profi board holder. The Profi does sit in this area of the hilt. This is the battery and speaker compartment. And then obviously we've got a crystal chamber and our PCB emitter up top here. So I was able to design a chassis. I mean, I wouldn't even call this a chassis. It's a Profi board holder, right? So I want to come into Fusion and we'll talk about, I mean, we're only going to pop into Fusion for like 2 seconds, and then we'll come up top and talk about how to use this guy. And then we will obviously do a demo. I don't even think it's necessary to come into Fusion. Why don't we just talk about the Profi tray, right? So this compartment is where you wire up. You bring all of your leads into, well, let's come up top. Why don't we come up top and talk about this? Okay, so here it is. The Green Mamba. I almost call this the Black Mamba because it's black. This is the Green Mamba from the Custom Saber Shop. Absolutely phenomenal piece of custom machine work. I can really appreciate the amount of work that goes into something like this. The Custom Saber Shop, the guys over there did all of these in-house, and they are absolutely beautiful, right? So as I was talking about that Profi tray, right? So this midsection is where all of the action happens, if you will, right? So obviously there is not a heck of a lot of room to do any kind of chassis or anything like really special with like greebly work or anything. You're never gonna see this at all, right? So let's come into Fusion. I just designed a very, very simple board holder with 2 recessed screw holes. This is how the board holder is secured to the spine of the hilt, right? These 2 Phillips head screws are recessed here. And then the Profi just kind of snap or press fits into place here. This is where the USB port is. So this is like the USB SD side, and then the rest of it just kind of snap fits in or press fits into place. A little bit of a different configuration, right? So some of the wires are fed up top, some can come through underneath, and they're fed through this channel. Obviously, you're never going to see this. You're never going to see the Profi board. If you ever need to do any kind of uploading of the config or changing of the fonts, it's full disclosure, it's going to be a hard time. It's not going to be a fun time doing any of that, right? So let's come back up top. So here, so the Profi is in this area, right? Like I was saying, if you ever want to get your config changed or add new fonts, you're going to have to remove this battery compartment, or you're going to have to loosen this, right? Then you're going to have to remove all of these semicircles that are around that profi compartment. And then all of these parts come off. Okay? And then you'll be able to expose your profi board and get at it that way. Not the easiest way to upload your config. So I understand why the guys who designed this hilt did it that way. And I am not one to tell anyone how to do their job, right? However, and I hope this is not taken the wrong way, if it was me, right, one of the really, really cool things about this hilt is the wireless charging port, right? So you've got a magnetic wireless charging port here, and it has 2 conductors. You could have done a 4-conductor wireless charging port and used those other 2 conductors for your transmit and receive data. So you could have used that to get at your profi as well as charge your battery from that one port. That's how you could have gotten away with having to disassemble everything to get at your board. That was my thinking. I actually thought that's what this was for until I started wiring everything up and realized that this was only a 2-conductor charge port. But I do believe they have these magnetic connectors that are 4-conductor. They probably are bigger than this. And I'm probably just talking out of my butt. I mean, the guys over at Custom Saber Shop, whoever designed this, probably thought of that. But that is something I thought of. Maybe that's a way of getting around having to do something like that, right? I hope that's not taken the wrong way. I hope the guys at the Custom Saber Shop aren't watching this and thinking, yeah, Tim, we thought about that. You're an asshole. Anyway, so regardless of all of that, right? Either way, that's just something that you have to keep in mind when you're wiring this up. You got to make sure your config is good to go, because if it isn't, or whenever you want to add more fonts, you're just going to have to take all that off, and do that. So when I was thinking about doing this install, I knew I wanted to add some sort of extra animation, either in the vent area or in the crystal chamber. So down here in the battery and speaker compartment, I have added some 2020 neopixel strips, right? So the speaker vents through here. Very, very interesting speaker. It's like a rectangular speaker. To my absolute surprise, the speaker actually sounds very, very good. It's very thin. It has a very small magnet, but it sounds very, very good, right? So the speaker vents through here. So I couldn't put any 2020 neopixel strips here, or you'd be blocking the speaker. So around back, I have 2 2020 neopixel strips that are behind some mylar for diffusion, right? Then I bring all of my leads through these nice corrugated tubes, right? These are really, really cool steel or aluminum tubes for wire management. I really, really like these. Cool feature, okay? Then obviously here's our profi area, right? We have a very, very cool, here's our magnetic charge port, obviously. The kill switch is here. Really, really cool feature. Having that kill switch as like a little rotary switch here. I really like that, okay? Making our way up to the crystal chamber. So the hilt ships with, I believe it's a resin crystal. I wanted to get a real crystal in here. So this is actually a rose quartz point that I put in here. The hilt also ships with a small, I think it's a 2525 neopixel on its own PCB. I wanted to switch that out with a larger neopixel. So there's actually a 3535 3535 neopixel in here. One of the large ones that we typically use in our crystal chambers. I put that one in here. It's really, really nice and bright. Okay. And then, of course, up top, we have our PCB emitter. So another really cool thing about, let me get the Another nice thing about this hilt, everything about this hilt is great. I mean, everything they shipped with the hilt is very, very premium. The blade plug is really nice. They did machine some holes in this blade plug to allow for some shine through. I also made like a resin core for this blade plug that goes all the way up to the top, so we can really maximize the amount of light diffusion that we get from that PCB emitter, right? And then we've got our switches here. I mean, everything is very, very well machined. The tolerances are all perfect. Like, I didn't have to like file anything. Everything fit together perfectly. I mean, this is just, when I see those kinds of tolerances, I know that there was a professional doing all this. I mean, there's no kind of, everything fit together perfectly. Like, when I disassembled it, put it back together, everything was just perfect. I mean, it's just beautiful, beautiful hilt. It feels great. It's not uncomfortable. Very light. Awesome hilt. So that's the hilt, right? Those are just the small modifications that I made. Let's talk about how to use it. So obviously I showed you the charge port. The charging cable did come with this. I will obviously be shipping that back. Okay. To turn your hilt on, there is a knob here. You're going to rotate that.
That's 5 standing by.
There's that neopixel strip that is lit. Here's our crystal chamber. There's that blade plug. It's a little bit extra lit with that resin core. Okay. All right. Let's see what else we put on here.
The NASA team is ready for launch.
Okay. Okay. So let's come down to the bottom. So there's that real quartz point in that crystal chamber. I wanted to do something different in there, in my pursuit of constantly trying to do something different. And then those 2020 neopixel strips. So that speaker sounds really good for its size. Okay.
Ascension.
Okay. So let's put a blade in it. So these two screws along the spine of the hilt, I actually think it's the top screw, will serve as your blade retention. Let's take that blade plug out. Okay. This is a 1-inch blade holder. So rest your blade on those PCB pins and then tighten that set screw. And then you're ready to go. Really interesting feeling hilt to swing around. Okay. That speaker sounds really decent. I was very surprised. One more.
Lord Vader.
So there's that crystal accent strip. One more. Such an interesting hilt to hold. All right. So that is it. That is the Green Mamba from the Custom Saber Shop. Just a beautiful piece of machining. And I really, I mean, this is probably one of the most unique lightsabers I've ever seen. I mean, I think that there was only a certain amount of these made. It was based on, I'm going to get this incorrect. It was based on an original lightsaber that was, I think it was only like 2 of them made. And I'm probably wrong about that, but you know, it just a very, very unique looking hilt. And to my surprise, I thought this was going to be a huge bear to install. Like I thought it was going to be a huge pain in the butt, but it was actually relatively straightforward, right? You just really need to plan ahead and just make sure you've got, you know, enough wire length. You've got to make sure your config's good to go. And yeah, it was pretty straightforward, right? They gave you plenty of space in all of these corrugated tubes to bring your leads, right? They gave me plenty of space to, you know, bring extra wires for, you know, accents and stuff. So it was a breeze. It was a good one to install, right? Lots of parts in this one. I mean, just so many little details everywhere. Anyhow, so that's all I got, right? Thank you very much to the customer for trusting me with your hilt. Thank you for your patience. If anyone has any questions about this particular install or anything really, please do not be a stranger. And with that being said, may the force be with you always. Have a good one, everybody.